Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be here with you today, and thank you for joining us. My name is Missy, and I will be giving today's talk. Sunburst teachings embrace 12 virtues, and we try to practice them throughout our everyday lives. And each astrological month has a virtue that goes along with it. And during that month, it's more at the forefront, and we become more conscious of practicing that in our everyday lives, and oftentimes are faced with challenges in that virtue. And so it's a good time to learn more about it and learn ways that we can fully embrace that particular virtue. And the month of Taurus is associated with the virtue of patience. So today I'm going to be speaking about patience. On God's time, cultivating patience. Patience can't be acquired overnight. It is just like building up a muscle. Every day, you need to work on it. Eknath Easwaran. Imagine what would happen in a world where everyone behaved with more patience. I was reading something about this recently. Someone posed that question, and I had never thought about it in those terms before. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought about the possibilities. If we were all more patient with each other, how much conflict could be avoided. If we were more patient in listening to each other, how much more understanding there would be. If we were more patient with our coworkers, there would be so much less frustration at the speed with which others were doing their tasks or how they were doing their tasks. If we had more patience with our children, they would be so much less frustrated. If we had more patience with our spouse or significant other or all of our family members, there would be so much less anger. If we had more patience with people with different beliefs than us or different political party affiliations, there would be so much more understanding of others' viewpoints and others' situations and others' way of thinking. So it really opened my eyes to thinking about this virtue of patience in such a more broad perspective. What if the whole world embraced this virtue just a little bit more? The magnificent changes that could occur. I am married to someone who has some challenges with patience, and he's very aware of it, and we joke about it. And I realized that I had sort of an aha moment with patience many years ago. I used to struggle with it much more than I do now, and especially with tasks I was doing. I craft a lot and like to be creative and would make a mistake and have to think about whether or not I was going to fix it. And oftentimes I didn't, and then I would look at the completed project and that mistake would just be glaring. So one day I was sewing something, probably a dress, something large, and I made some mistakes that required unpicking a decent amount of sewing. And I started in with my seam ripper, and a seam ripper is a small tool with a little hook at the end that you can stick under the stitches and cut them, and below the hook is a small blade. And if you're not careful, you can stick the hook into the fabric rather than just the sewing thread and you can cut a hole in your garment. So I was trying to be careful and not destroy my work any further, and looking at the amount that I had to unpick and getting so frustrated and irritated that I just wanted this to be done so I could move on and be done with this. And I realized that my mind being irritated and angry at the garment, at myself, at the situation, was not helping at all. And this job had to be done no matter what, and I may as well take the time to do it correctly. And I paused for a moment, and I took a few deep breaths, and I collected myself and said, just practice patience. And I was able to, with a really peaceful and calm mind and joy in my heart, correct my mistake and move on. And that moment was such a turning point in my life. And I'm not saying this can happen for everyone. I feel it was a true gift for me, because from that day forward, I feel like I have an ability to address situations like that with a different frame of mind and really embrace having that patience, mostly with myself in those times, to fix what needs to be fixed and move forward. Just last night, I was knitting a sweater, and it's a bit of a complicated pattern, and usually my mind can embrace that and still have a conversation or watch TV or something. And I was in a Zoom meeting with an international knitting group I'm with, and they wanted to see what I was working on, so I showed them. And someone asked, can you knit a complicated project like that during this meeting with all of us? Because we talk and joke and laugh and sometimes don't get a lot of knitting done. And I'm like, oh, sure, no problem. So that night, I picked up my knitting again after dinner, and I was going to sit and enjoy myself and knit on my sweater. And I realized, like 20 rows earlier, I had made a mistake. And all I could think about was earlier in the meeting when someone had said if I could knit a complicated project like that. And I'm like, heck yeah. So I'm staring at this mistake thinking, okay, what am I going to do about this? And I thought, okay, remember that lesson in patience and just take a few deep breaths and ask patience to be with you. And I ripped back that section and fixed the mistake and felt so much better about it, and am now able to laugh about it. So it really can be such a helpful tool in your life. I read a story last night about a cab driver who had had a long day, taking fares here and there, and he was at the end of his shift and knew that the fare he was picking up was going to be the last of the day. And so he drove to the address, and it was outside of Brownstone, and he waited, and the fare never came out. And he was impatient. He wanted to be home. He wanted to be done with the day. He wanted to move on. So he waited, and still the fare never came out. So finally, he thought about just driving off, but he decided to go up and knock on the door. He knocked on the door. After some time, an older woman came out carrying a small suitcase. And he could see into her apartment behind her that everything was packed up, and it looked like no one was going to be coming back. So she asked him to help with his suitcase, and he thought, fine, let's just get this over with, move along. And the woman was moving slow and taking her time and looking back into the apartment like she was saying goodbye. So she finally got into the cab, and he got her suitcase in, and they were moving on. And he asked her where she was going. And she gave him the address of a hospice center. And he asked her what was going on. And she said that she didn't have any family nearby, and that she was moving to hospice, that it was time. And so the cab driver realized that this was going to be her last ride. And she asked him if he would take a different route. And he said, well, it's going to take you longer to get there. And she said, I know, and that's fine. And so he agreed. And as they were taking this different route, he realized that she just wanted to enjoy this journey. And he was frustrated because he wanted to be done with it. He wanted to be home. He wanted to be done with his day. But he embraced patience and took the woman on the alternate route she wanted. And then he drove her around a bunch more sites that she wanted to see. And I think the cab ride wound up being an hour and a half, 2 hours, while they had a lovely afternoon taking this woman who was going to hospice to see everything she could and say her final farewells to these sights and sound that she loved. And after he delivered her to hospice and carried her suitcase in for her, and she asked him what the fare was, he said, there's no fare, it's on me. And he was so happy that he hadn't driven away when she hadn't come out of her house, and that he had agreed to take her on the longer route, and he had taken the time to give her this special day, and that he had the strength in himself to embrace patience that day, and that it meant as much to him as it did to her. Let's all meditate for a few moments together. And as you close your eyes and feel your sit bones sitting into your chair or meditation cushion, lift your shoulders back so you can open up your chest. Feel like there's a string from the top of your head, pulling your head up and your spine erect. When you breathe in, feel it filling your diaphragm. Don't breathe up in your chest and get all tight. Breathe into your diaphragm. Breathe in the light of God. Breathe out the day's stress and worry. Focus your attention on the bright shining light in the astral that exists to hold us and love us and welcome us. Another way to look at patience is in planting a seed. Things do not produce fruit from the day you plant the seed. It takes time and patience to reap your harvest. And when you do, the fruit is so sweet. I want to close today with some words on patience from Sunburst's founder, Norman Paulson. O Father and Mother Divine, in the silence of my being, I hear the pulsating hum of all your creation. Yes, I can hear you. I can feel you. I know I am part of you, beloved. O eternal patient one, I know you have been watching over me. You are the light of my love, the essence of my being. You are the mighty dreamer, dreaming the image of me and all that I see in your eternity. I will always wait and watch for thee. At the right moment, O Father, Mother, please reveal thyself to me. And sometimes the biggest lesson in patience is waiting for Mother, Father, God to reveal themselves to us. In my meditations, every time I either begin or end, or at some point in the middle, chant quietly within, O Mother, Father, God, reveal thyself to me. Make me an instrument of thy will. Reveal thyself to me. Thank you all so much for being with us here today. We are so grateful. I am so grateful for the connection we have with all of you. Namaste.
Put down the things that hold me back. Lord, hear my calling. Gotta start a new life, no turning back. Keep me from falling by the wayside. I look into your sun that's sinking low over the mountains. I look all around at the mother's love. Oh, how she inspires me to move on. I know that we were all together before we ever came into this world. I know that we all love each other. I know this time we're gonna win. There's a battle here that started. We'll be here till the ship sails home again. Been a while since we departed. Be a while till we get home again. Going home. going home. Oh, how long to be in the ocean of a million stars. Oh, how long to be in the presence of a million angels, singing songs, going home on solar winds, going home. I know that we were all together before we ever came into this world. I know that we all love each other. I know this time we're gonna win. Going home. Going home. Oh, how long to be in the ocean of a million stars. Oh, how long to be in the presence of a million angels, singing songs, going home on solar winds, going home on solar winds, on solar winds, on solar winds. I'm going home on solar winds.